on this episode, I've got Cheryl Parks, who is my TikTok buddy, and who has a fantastic message about growing your sales. What was your very first sales job? Like, what was the thing that got you in and got you hooked?
Okay. So do you want professional sales job or do you want just me? Like,
you just talk about you. Like, I got you on here because of you. I'm watching you on TikTok every day. You show up in my feed and I like you. So let's talk about the real, what got you hooked into sales.
Listen, I jumped into sales as a college student, standing in the aisle of like the hair care store, selling hair care products, right? I mean, literally door to door. My first professional sales job was selling copying systems. Okay, this is going to tell you how old I am. Copying systems and going door to door and literally walking and asking to talk to the CEO. Didn't matter what size company, right? And from there, it just gravitated. It's just kind of continued to progress. And then I hit it big because I figured out that the mortgage company was running 8.5 by 11 and 11 by 14s, and they were collating, right?
Yep.
Everybody's not going to know about this.
Yep.
They were collating on tables, okay? But this is before all the electronics came into play. At the end of the day, like it just went from like, up and down roller coaster to like on high. And I literally saw how much time, effort, energy, and literally compliance issues, what was saved, right, by the system that I was talking to them about. So that's kind of where it took hold. And then I just became this solution rep. Like, I've never been a sell on features, even benefits. I've been like, what is it you're trying to solve? And how can I get the solution within the space of my company, right? So not taking us down this path of developing software into a corner, but literally what can I leverage at my organization that can help you solve the problem or not, right? I've had to tell people or not on quite a few occasions. Yeah, which I'm very proud of.
I think you and I have a similar background, that we grew up in businesses that were essentially, I hate to use the word commodity, but that's essentially what we would call them. They were commoditized. I mean, everybody sold copiers. I grew up in the rental uniform world, which is, right. I would wear holes in my my shoes going down the street, knocking on doors. But that's exactly where I came from. When I wrote People by You, which was one of my early books, I was really writing about exactly how I went to market, because I was selling something that everybody else was selling, and it was all the same. Like, a copier was a copier was a copier. A uniform was a uniform. So I love what you said, because I had to learn that my job was to solve problems. That's how I changed the shape of the commodity. If I was in there asking questions, learning about their business, sometimes solving problems that had nothing to do with even the product that I was selling, I was just taking a pattern from another business. And by the way, that's helped me today as a consultant. But it was that process of connecting at the human level, really diving in and bringing a solution to the table that made me look different than everyone else. And I didn't really learn that because of, some like aha moment in a sales training. I learned it because if you didn't learn fast in these, and the copier machine world was tough, tougher than uniforms, and uniforms was tough. If you didn't learn how to do that fast, you didn't have a job.
Right. You're out. Yeah, you're out. I just was talking to someone about copier world. Literally, the major account reps didn't even speak to us for 6 months. They would walk right by us. We were geo reps. We were out in the field. They'd walk right by us because they knew at the end of 6 months, there's only going to be like, if there's a team of 20, there'll be like 5 of y'all left. So if I spend 10 minutes with every single one of you, like, it's just a waste of my time. And I remember breaking onto the leaderboard, right? And see my name there. And I'm like, oh, wow. And then, the first time one of them said, hey, Cheryl, what's up? I'm like, oh, it's time. Right. I've arrived, right? So yeah, it's crucial. It's literally the discipline, right? It's just the discipline of doing it when you don't want to do it. I was watching one of your TikToks, literally, where you were in the car saying, this is the time when you're like, okay, I'm done. That's the time to make one more call.
Yeah, one more.
more.
That's exactly right. It was learning how to walk around in people's businesses. It was learning how to ask great questions. It was learning how to be relentlessly persistent.
Right.
And Anthony, I don't know if you know who Anthony Iannarino is. He wrote a book called Eat Their Lunch, but it's a book about competitive displacement. But he and I've talked about this before, that salespeople who come from our backgrounds, they tend to be better at the art of selling than really anyone else, because they're the ones who had to figure out that sales is not about the features. It's not at all. It's really about what you're bringing to the table, whether it's insights or it's some value that you're delivering by asking a question that makes someone think, or it's in your proposal where you've learned about, for example, they're collating on a table and you go, I can save you this much time, but you probably understood how much time it was. Like, you were asking the questions, how much time are you spending a week doing this? You did the math on how much it was costing the business, and you were able to say, if you spend this much money, you're going to save this much money. It was salespeople who could put those type of things together, do the math, like build the business case, that it didn't make a difference what they were selling. It didn't even make a difference how many competitors. It didn't even make a difference if their product was the best product on the market. They were the ones who were able to communicate those solutions in a way that other people couldn't.
Yeah, 100%. And I have to say that communication piece, right? So it goes from asking insightful questions to being able to actually take that information in, right, into your supercomputer up here, and then parlay it out in communicating to the decision makers or the decision-making team. And you can have all the solutions in the world, but if you can't communicate it out so that it makes sense, or they actually see the correlation, right, the bridge, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, let me think about it. We've all been there.
Yeah, if you can't communicate those, you use bridge, which is my favorite word, it's a value bridge, right? Connecting the dots between one thing and the other. If you can't do that, it's difficult for you to build that business case. But so let's just get real about today's world in selling. One of the things that hurts me, it really pains me, is that I don't see a lot of salespeople who have mastered that particular competency or skill of being able to clearly build a business case. Now, I know that we've always, if you read books from the 1950s, they'll talk about feature-based salespeople, and the things that we're talking about aren't relatively new. They're things that we had to learn because of the place that we were selling. But I'm finding that the skill level with both leaders and salespeople to articulate these value bridges unique to their customer, using their customer's language, is a skill that's just not there. I see a whole lot more copy paste off of the marketing brochure and send that in, versus really taking the time to think about it. Because what you're talking about is messaging that in your supercomputer, your brain here, and then putting it on paper. That's not something that you just like, okay, I'm just going to spit out some things. Like, you really got to think about that and think about the words that you're going to use and how you're going to present that.
100%. So enter my soapbox. I literally feel that, people and I'm speaking to anyone that's in a sales focus, sales quota, sales target goals, et cetera. It's not about being the best salesperson, right? It's about being the best at what you're doing. I think we have to broaden our business acumen first and foremost. I don't think buyers are looking for us to sell. I think they're looking for us to understand how their business runs and how they can get to their outcome. The second piece of it literally is building trust. And you said the word insights. This is a great time of year to do insights. Any time of year is really great. Do insights and trends for the upcoming year, right? And then look at what was said about last year that didn't occur, right? And see if talk to your buyer about that. I think some of why people can't get to what you could call a cost of inaction or cost of status quo is because they don't know the questions to ask. So now you're trying to do math on something that you don't have any numbers for. And that's what I see most, is that they're trying to get to a formula and you haven't asked the right questions, and you don't know what the priorities are for their business department, et cetera.
And that's where you get to the end and you get an objection, a buying commitment objection, and you have no ammunition. You didn't ask the right questions, so you can't get your calculator out and let me show you how this is going to work. So it always goes back to discovery. And if you listen to this podcast, you hear us saying this over and over and over again, how important discovery is. It is where 80% of your time should be spent in sales, because Cheryl's exactly right. Like, if you didn't ask the right question, you have no way of building that value bridge. You have no way of sitting down with them and showing them how it's going to help their business. Hey, I'm doing a happy dance because you watched this video. Make sure that you click like and subscribe so that you never miss one of our amazing sales training videos.